and the values of our homes are going down and so forth. So it's a terrible thing.
Tom, we saw over the certainly the summer months a lot in the Philadelphia press about what was going on in the state legislature as it related to misspent monies, corruption, and those types of things. How did you see that playing out here with our district?
Yeah, sure, Kevin. That's the second issue, besides the jobs and the economy, is the legislature. Most people that I've talked to are well aware of the articles in the Philadelphia Inquirer this past summer, which followed a 2-year grand jury investigation investigating our state legislature. These, remember, are the people that we hire by electing them to represent us, everybody, equally. And they seem to be forgetting that. They seem to be representing themselves instead. And this is the state legislature that the Inquirer's editorial page, not necessarily a Republican piece of paper, have categorized as the highest paid, most corrupt in the country. Not my words, their words. In fact, interestingly, if you look at this election season and look at the TV commercials out there, both candidates for governor, the Democrat Daniel Norado and the Republican Tom Corbett, are saying the exact same things. Daniel Norado is holding up, in fact, the articles from the papers on the legislature, and he's touting them that the state legislature has got to go, it's bad, it's corrupt, and has to change. Tom Corbett it gets in a little more detail and cites some of the bad spending of the state legislature, and I'll be happy to get into that with you if you'd like.
Sure. You know, and a lot of people, I live in Abington, say that Josh Shapiro is a nice guy and has done much for the community. How do you respond to that?
Yeah. At first, it's hard, and I have to admit, I haven't met Josh Shapiro yet. Essentially, the bottom line is this: nice isn't going to get your homes back. Nice isn't going to put food on your tables. Nice is not going to get you a job. Those big checks that he was bringing back to the district aren't going to come anymore, I'm sorry to say, because A, his benefactor, Governor Rendell, is not going to be there next year, and B, there's no money to give away. And by the way, what's most important, which I have to stress to people when they tell me this, is that's your money. That's our money that we pay to bring back to the district. Hey, it's nice to have soccer uniforms for the local boys soccer team, but I think we'd rather have property tax relief across the board, or other tax relief, or jobs across the board, or food on our tables, or milk for our children, because that's what's going to get it done, and not the big checks to the boys' youth soccer clubs.
And Tom, as you know, the 800-pound gorilla out there on an issue basis is that of health care. And there was probably no bigger advocate for Barack Obama and Obamacare than Josh Shapiro. How do you approach that, and what are your thoughts on dealing with the health care issue?
Well, it all comes back down to jobs again in the economy, because frankly, again, my research knocking on doors and meeting thousands of people and representing businesses, by the way, Kevin, I'm not sure if I brought that up, but it's important to know what I bring to the table is experience as a business attorney, 18 years experience as a business attorney. And I've represented businesses, these small businesses, mom and pop businesses, Fortune 500 company businesses as well. And that kind of experience is going to help me understand the issues. And what they're telling me is part of this is twofold. A, it's going to cost them more money by adding the insurance to their coverages. Some companies, even though it might be added 8% cost to them for the cost of premiums, they just can't afford that. And as a result, I'm sorry, but I have to lay people off. I can't afford this. Or I'm going to have to go out of business. No kidding. People have told me that. Secondly, it's going to affect some of our seniors and many of the people that are going to go onto the Medicaid rules. And what they don't understand is already insurance companies are not going to be writing certain policies. But because more people are going to go on the Medicaid rules, that means there's going to be more people on Medicaid, and the states pick up the cost for that. And again, our state budget is already looking at a $5 billion hole for next year, not including the additional $5 billion pension hole that's going to be coming right after that.
Exactly. We'll be right back after these messages.
On November 2nd, you have a chance to change what's going on in Washington, a chance to pick a candidate for Congress who will say no to excess government spending and yes to job creation. Dee Adcock is an entrepreneur, independent businessman, and a lifelong resident of the area. He believes in fiscal responsibility, limited government, job creation, and real affordable health care reform, and has the Republican Party endorsement. Vote for Dee Adcock for U.S. Congress on November 2nd.
I'm Dee Adcock, and I approved this message.
I'm Tom Bogar, candidate for state representative in the Abington and Upper Dublin district. The most important issues facing Pennsylvania today are keeping and creating jobs, reducing taxes, controlling runaway spending, and eliminating corporate welfare and pork barrel projects without accounting gimmicks, shell games, or new debt. I will fight to make state government live within its means by making the same kinds of tough choices our families make by cutting unnecessary spending without raising taxes. I'm Tom Bogar, and I approve this message.
Welcome back. I'm Kevin Supka, and we are on the air with ATRO. We've been talking with Tom Bogar, who is the candidate for the 153rd seat in the State Assembly in Pennsylvania. Tom, I wanted to continue our conversation a little bit here on health care. As we know, Josh Shapiro, your opponent, was one of the leaders in the state of Pennsylvania for Barack Obama. He was a large proponent of Obamacare, large proponent of national health care. In fact, he could probably be even considered a mini czar, if you will, of the health care proposal as it came out. What are some of the issues surrounding that you're going to go to Harrisburg with and try to change?
Well, one of the things that I have to undo one of the things he's trying to do, and he actually has proposed legislation to create a state bureaucracy, so to speak, which would administer this program, this national health care. But what's troubling is and what people like Josh Shapiro don't understand, career politicians like he, who seem to be taking the lead for these issues, don't understand is the repercussions or the costs to the folks, essentially. I met a woman, and she was a Democrat, and she talked to me about her health care and how she just got a bill where her health insurance was going up multiple times, exponential amounts. Why? Because, well, that's the cost of doing business, apparently, under this new Obamacare. And because of under the plan, more high-risk folks will have to be insured. Somebody has to pay the cost, and so everybody else will pay the cost. And that's just the way it goes under the plan. Now, it's nice to have everyone insured in the country, and under ideal circumstances, we would like to have that. But unfortunately, the way the healthcare, national health care was proposed and passed in the middle of the night with little participation from the other sides, it just left a very sour taste in everyone's mouths. And I suppose that's why a large majority of the country are opposed to it.
I believe it's something along the lines of 60% plus.
Yes.
And that's been a consistent number since the vote was taken back in the spring. Let's talk a little bit too, if we can, about Josh Shapiro's record in Harrisburg. You've been a business person. You've been in the military. You've practiced law. You've been dealing with businesses for the last 18 years. Josh has been a career politician. All he has ever done is worked in Harrisburg and represented the people here in the district. Why don't you talk a little bit about the budget process and how you'll be involved with that, and how that differs from what Josh has done?
Well, just to correct you for a second, he has actually served in Washington as well under Joe Huffles as his chief of staff. So he has been, from the day, based on his career, based on his website and his bio, he's worked in politics from day one out of college up to the currently. But as far as I can tell, he's never really created wealth in the private sector, and never really worked in the private sector, which leads us to a lot of the folks that are now leaving the Obama administration. A lot of these academic types, and I'm not saying he's an academic type far and away, by no means is he, but it's these folks that really don't understand the real economic issues at stake here and what they mean to the real business folks and what it means to jobs and issue. But to answer your question, a real problem in Pennsylvania, and this goes to some of the commercials you might be seeing from the governor candidates Dan Honorato and Tom Corbett, are these things called WHAMs.
What is a WHAM?
WHAM is it's called walking around money, and when they were made illegal or outlawed, or whatever the state legislature did, they changed the name of it. Same thing, but now they call them discretionary grants. Oh, a grant is a nice thing, but essentially it's an unregulated, unsubstantiated, unaccounted for amount of money that are thrown into the budget. Some of the WAMs that Josh Shapiro has voted for. This included $10 million for a library to Arlen Specter, another $10 million for a library to John Murtha, $20 million for a spa in Brandywine, $1 million for a jazz festival. This is just to name a few things that we found out about, that we know about now. They included this kind of money. There's like $100 million of WAMs that he voted for this last current budget, while they cut our own libraries 9%. They cut our police and firefighters. They cut parks and recreation, environmental agencies, all attorney general's offices, all cut across the board. And yet they have enough to put these WAMs in the budget. That is wrong, absolutely wrong.
Well, and he does happen to have done, it seems, a good job of adding to his own staff.
Yeah. You don't need a $400,000 a year staff. That's what he's paying his staff this year. That doesn't include Social Security withholding or health benefits or any other benefits as well.
And what was Ellen Bard and
$150,000, I think, when Josh was elected. In fact, his office has actually increased in size as well. When he was given the honorary title of Deputy Speaker for the year or two he held that position, he took over the additional space, and the rent for that comes out of our pockets, by the way. Well, since he gave up that post, he hasn't returned the space. So he's kept the additional staff, and he's kept the space. Now, again, when times are tough, people got to make cutbacks. We're all suffering. We're all making sacrifices. I think he should lead by example. Another example of waste, or something I think is outrageous, morally outrageous, is the fact that here we all are struggling for health care. He gets free health care. He doesn't pay a dime for it. We all have to pay for health care. Now, under the Obama plan, I don't know what's going to happen to state reps. They'll probably be covered just like the Congress will be covered, I'm sure, on some kind of exemption. But he gets free health care. He gets his free benefit, his pension plan as well. Doesn't contribute to it. It's a great gig. Oh, by the way, as a result of this, next year or 2 years, our state pension plan is going to be $5 billion in the hole that somehow has to be made up. So all this, leaders need to lead, and lead by example. I wouldn't take the pension. I would propose or sponsor or co-sponsor legislation that would change that pension system. I would not accept free health care. If I were going to get it, I would pay for it, but I wouldn't even take it. I've already said I'm not going to take it. That's how you lead by example. Another example, cutting out these per diems and corroborating the per diems or cutting them back, because right now the per diems are what the state representatives, the State House and the Senate, receive every day the state legislature is in session. It comes to $160+ a day. So they're set for 3 days, they get that times 3, and it's all tax-free. Now, when you consider the fact that it comes to about $20,000 a year per person, on a tax-free basis,
that's a lot of money.
You figure the tax, even at 20% of that, that's a huge chunk of change. Kevin, if you travel on business expenses, you have to show receipts. They don't even have to show receipts. So even if he were to come back home that night, stay and sleep in his own home, eat his own food, he still gets reimbursed the whole chunk of change for that day.
Tom, let me ask you, if anyone wants to be involved with your campaign, how do they get in touch with you?
Sure. You can send me an email at tom@tombogar.org, or check out my website, www.tombogar.org, or call me at work, 215-663-0400. I do return calls. And I ask people to visit my website too, because a lot of the issues I say, I'm just not speaking off the cuff. They're all corroborated, all substantiated with real news articles, and I encourage people to check out those Inquirer stories on the state legislature. They're all there. You just Google it from May of this year, and they're all there. Please visit. I have a blog as well, and I talk about these issues as well.
Terrific.
Thank you.
I would like to thank our guest, Tom Bogar, for being with us today. If you have any comments or would like to contact us about ATRO, visit www.atrogop.org. I'm Kevin Supka for On the Air with ATRO. Thanks for joining us.